Welcome to CNBC-TV18. The Congress party has been facing several leadership challenges over the past few months. After several controversies and high drama, 3 candidates have filed their nomination for the election of party president, set to be held on the 17th of October. So who are the candidates? Mallikarjun Kharge, let's begin with him. He's the front runner in this race and has the backing of the Gandhi family. 80 years old, he came into the race after Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot's rebellion. Digvijaya Singh also backed out of the race in Kharge's favour. Leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, a 3-time MP, 9-time MLA. He's someone who has the largest backing in this election. His support group also includes dissidents or G23 leaders like Manish Tiwari, Prithviraj Chavan, and also Bhupendra Singh Hooda. Ashok Gehlot is also supporting him, Salman Khurshid, Dipender Hooda, Rajiv Shukla as well. So big support group there for Mallikarjun Kharge. Let's speak about Shashi Tharoor, chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on IT, 3-term Congress MP from Thiruvananthapuram. He's also been the Minister of State for Human Resources and External Affairs, former Under-Secretary at the UN. Tharoor says he is not a G23 candidate. He had also met Sonia Gandhi before contesting, a move seen as an effort to take the Gandhis' approval. He said a fresh leader, someone who's not jaded by being entrenched within the current system far too long, can energize the party. And he also said the Gandhi family is and remains the foundational pillar of the Congress, our moral conscience, ultimate guiding spirit. You also had one surprise candidate, K.N. Tripathi, who is in the limelight now, former Jharkhand minister and Congress leader. He is a former Air Force officer who first contested an election from Daltonganj in 2005 and lost, won the 2008 Assembly elections and became a minister. He has filed his nomination, but the contest remains between Kharge and Tharoor. Let's listen in to what they had to say after filing their nomination.
I represent a vision to take the party forward in a different way. The party has had some great successes in its storied history, but for some years now we have been suffering setbacks. And the question is, how do we stop those setbacks, change the narrative and move forward? So I want to say to all of you, I am here to be the voice of all these party workers. And I hope that my campaign will appeal to them and will represent a way forward for the party.
मैं जो लड़ाई हमेशा लड़ते हुए आया हूं और लड़ना चाहता हूं कि कांग्रेस पार्टी के जो उसूल हैं, जो आइडियोलॉजी है, उस आइडियोलॉजी के साथ मैं बचपन से जुड़ा हूं। मैं यही अपील करूंगा सारे हमारे डेलीगेट्स जो वोटर्स हैं वो मेरे पक्ष में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बहुमत बनाकर मुझे जिताएंगे, ये आशा करता हूं।
I'm now joined by Sandeep Shastri, Vice Chancellor at Jagran Lake City University. Mr. Shastri, thank you very much for joining us. Give us a sense of what's happening in the Congress right now. Has the candidature of Mallikarjun Kharge united the party in one sense when we have the likes of Prithviraj Chavan, Manish Tiwari, A.K. Antony and other members of the G23 also backing him? Do you think all the controversies have been put to rest with Mallikarjun Kharge?
Parikshit, Kharge represents a unifying factor. Remember, in the direct elections, he has only lost once in his life. He has won, I think, more than 11 elections in his life. And somebody who is seen to be very loyal to the party and also very close to the Gandhi family. And somebody who throughout his career has been seen as uniting different factions within the party. Let us also remember that he is a very tall Dalit leader. And I think all these factors have gone into the high command of the Congress deciding that somebody like Kharge would be a candidate. It's very interesting to see the points which Shashi Tharoor made, where he says he's fresh and not jaded. I don't know if that's a reflection of what he thinks those who are arraigned against him are, but I think it will be, I don't know if it's too much of a contest at all. And I will not be surprised if before the last date of withdrawal of nominations, you finally land up with a unanimous choice. I still do not rule out that factor, because at the end of the day, a election, a squabble, a contest has its implications for the unity of the party. So I will not be surprised if there is ultimately a unanimous choice which finally emerges, which will be, if that happens, it will definitely be Mallikarjun Kharge.
Right. And just a word about Shashi Tharoor as well. He had that meeting with Sonia Gandhi before he announced his candidature for the Congress president's election. That was seen to be as an effort to seek approval from the party president, though he denied it, said that I only wanted to understand her mind. What do you think this election will mean for Shashi Tharoor?
Parikshit, let's remember that Shashi Tharoor is a seasoned diplomat, having worked at the United Nations for many years. So as a seasoned diplomat, he, I think, strategically decided to meet the Congress president and make it known to her that he's wanting to offer his name in the race. In a sense, I think Kharge and Tharoor represent two different strands of Congress politics. Kharge has been close to the ground. He has been in state politics and in national politics for now over 6 decades. He has worked with various leaders over time. I would see him as a grassroots leader who understands the issues on the ground. Tharoor, on the other hand, represents a more elitist Congress, the more intellectual phase, though of course he has won elections from Thiruvananthapuram, but he is largely seen as somebody who is a intellectual / elite / English speaking leader. So in that sense, it's a contest between two narratives, and I don't think it requires any huge analytical effort to decide who has the better chance in such a debate.
But Mr. Shastri, would you agree that both these candidates, in a way, have the approval of the Gandhi family to contest? Yes, Mr. Kharge has probably much greater support within the Congress, within the vote bank in the Congress right now, but both the candidates had the approval of the Gandhis to contest?
I would not endorse that point, but both had the open approval of the Congress High Command. They may have sought the blessings of the High Command. Kharge seems to be much more in that case a choice of the High Command. I mean, Tharoor could very well have been given his blessings by Sonia Gandhi to go ahead and contest. But I think directly you may not have a direct support being offered by the High Command to either candidate. But I think in very subtle ways and very indirect ways, it may appear that Kharge is the one being backed by the High Command. But this will not come out directly or openly.
What does this mean? Okay, yes, because Sonia Gandhi has said that she will be neutral in this election. And let's also point out, this is for the first time in 20 years that a non-Gandhi is contesting this election. And there are Gandhis who are, and the Gandhi family is not a part of this election process. But coming back to Ashok Gehlot, Mr. Shastri, what does this mean for his political career in the Congress? Do you think he has severely fallen out with the party leadership?
Now, I think the rebellion that happened in the Rajasthan Congress legislature party is something which would have seriously dented Ashok Gehlot's image, and therefore he had to take a public stance to apologize for what happened. Now, I think Gehlot was always a reluctant candidate for the Congress presidency, and in a sense he was being very gently pushed to that position. He always made it clear that he would be happier actually being in Rajasthan. And once he reconciled himself to being the Congress candidate, he was very keen to see that somebody he wants is in Rajasthan. So I think that rebellion, either inspired by him or where he turned the other way when the rebellion happened, has definitely dented his relationship with the High Command. I don't think the leadership of the Congress at this stage would want to disturb him as the Chief Minister of the state. I think he would continue in that, but he would be a much more, I wouldn't say weakened Chief Minister, but in terms of the national politics of the Congress, I think Gehlot has had to take 2 steps backward because of what has happened.
Right, right. And will this really sort out the troubles for the Congress, give it a greater presence on the national stage, improve its electoral prospects in any way under Mallikarjun Kharge?
It would all depend on, Parikshit, how well Mallikarjun Kharge is able to relate to the Gandhi family and how quickly Mallikarjun Kharge is able to build those links with the state units of the Congress party. I think he has demonstrated in the past very, very strong organizational skills. He has been, if you recall, the president of the Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee for quite some time. And his presence and role in politics for over 5.5 decades now, and his success in electoral politics and his linkages with leaders across the Congress spectrum is something which I think will stand him in good stead. But I think also critical will be the type of relationship he develops with the Gandhi family and how well he is able to bring together, build together leaders at the Delhi level and also leaders across the states.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Shastri, for joining us here on CNBC TV18, giving us your view on the Congress president election. Very interesting times. And like you said, the story isn't over as yet. 17th of October is still 17 days away and a lot can change. And there are people who could pull out from this race as well. And you may just have one candidate left at the end and no need for an election. So let's wait and see what happens. We're going to take a short break, but coming up, Prime Minister Modi will be inaugurating 5G services tomorrow. We take a closer look at the telecom sector. My colleague Ashmit Kumar will be joined by 2 special guests on the other side when we're back.
Welcome back. Now, it would be a landmark day for India's telecom sector. Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be launching 5G services at the India Mobile Congress tomorrow. Now, Reliance Industries Chairman Mukesh Ambani, Bharti Group Chairman Sunil Bharti Mittal and Aditya Birla Group Chairman Kumar Mangalam Birla will be present at the event. Now, Mukesh Ambani will be speaking at the Reliance AGM earlier last month, promised a pan-India 5G coverage by December of 2023. Airtel, meanwhile, is looking at a March 2024 deadline for a comprehensive 5G coverage. Vodafone Idea is yet to come up with a timeline. So, as we enter the 5G era, the big question that we're asking is that does the telecom sector have the resources for a seamless rollout? Now, the affordability of 5G handsets is directly linked to 5G adoption. How affordable would 5G smartphones be? What about Vodafone Idea? Are they yet to come up with a timeline? Well, to take this discussion forward, I'm now joined by former Telecom Secretary R. Chandrashekhar, as well as Purushothaman KG, partner and head of digital solutions and a telecom leader, KPMG in India. Mr. Chandrashekhar, let me come to you now. The first question is, we're looking for a big 5G launch tomorrow. All the industry heads will be there. The Prime Minister of the country will be there. The Telecom Minister, of course, will also be present. The question that I'm asking essentially is that from an industry perspective, is India 5G ready?
Well, tomorrow is obviously a significant day in India's telecom history and evolution. And with the 5G spectrum auctions having just been concluded, all the basics are in place. Obviously, for the telcos, it will take a little while for them to, execute their rollout plans. It will take them some while to spread the infrastructure. The overall timelines, I think, have been indicated, as you just mentioned, both by Jio and by Bharti, and probably Vodafone will do so sooner or later. So, how much, how quickly they're able to complete that rollout as planned, how quickly they're able to put that infrastructure in place, how quickly the devices that are needed by consumers and subscribers to get the 5G services are brought out. What is the price point at which those devices will be available? What's the pricing model, etc. All of these are going to be questions which will determine the uptake. So I presume when you say, how ready are we, it is a question of how quick the uptake can be. The other question is that 5G, I think, is particularly in the case of 5G, the use cases are important. What are the applications that you can actually have with 5G? Because if you tell me that I'm just going to use it to make a phone call, then whether it is 5G or 4G, it may not make that big a difference. But when you come to things like, education or immersive entertainment or advanced healthcare or certain kinds of, advanced agricultural services. So there are all these kinds of things which can be done with 5G, which are not possible with 4G or 3G. So how long it takes for those applications to develop, how much uptake there will be. These are the questions, I think, which will determine readiness in an overall context. It's not just a readiness in terms of spectrum being available. It's not even just a question of, how much investment there will be, but all of these factors together will, I think, determine the readiness and the uptake and the speed at which that happens across the country. Ashmit?
Sure. Mr. Purushothaman, let me come to you now. As far as industry is concerned, back of the envelope calculation suggests that the industry is looking at investments of anywhere about 2 to 2.5 lakh crore rupees. These are very big numbers we're discussing here, especially in context of one of the three operators struggling to even pay their tower dues. So the question I'm essentially asking you is that when we're looking at these timelines stretching across the next 18 to 24 months, how feasible are they? And do you think there's that kind of appetite within the industry to make those kind of big capex spends?
So thanks, Ashmit, for having me on the show. I'll answer your question from two perspectives. One, when we say that the rollout of network is going to happen, it has to be seen in the context of what has already been achieved in terms of the 4G rollout and the tower rollouts. Our expectation is that anywhere between 70 to 75% of the 5G rollouts will happen over the existing passive infrastructure, and gradually it will move to a greenfield kind of a rollout. So when it comes to the infrastructure, the passive infrastructure, it will have to be augmented. The current sites will have to get augmented by additional capacity, which will be for 5G specifically. There's a study that has also been done in terms of the expectation in terms of the rollout of BTS. In 2021, the number of BTS that has been rolled out in the Indian context is anywhere in the range of 2 to 2.2 million BTS rollouts that have happened, and it's expected to move up to 3 million by 2026 with 5G becoming pervasive. Now, to answer your question, it is going to be a staged rollout, and as Sir Chandrashekhar also said, the investments that the telcos will focus on will be not only to roll out the network to identify use cases that will service retail customers, but also industry use cases. A lot of work is being done by the telcos in augmenting the edge compute capacity of their data centers, also in arriving at use cases which are very relevant for industry and enterprise kind of scenarios. So the kind of rollouts that you might expect may not only be for the retail customers, but a large number of use cases will also come from enterprises. Now,
Sure.
So because it is going to be a staged rollout, and the expectation is going to be in the next 2 years, the industry is working towards not only a model by rolling out in priority circles, but also for enterprise use cases that will
Correct. So that's essentially the expectation that the rollout, when inauguration takes place tomorrow, will primarily be in some of the key urban centers. Think of Delhi, Bombay, Kolkata, Bangalore, Chennai. That's essentially what's expected from tomorrow. But Mr. Chandrashekhar, let me come to you now from a consumer standpoint. The kind of big capex spends we're talking will necessarily translate into higher pricing, premium pricing. There was a recent study done which suggested that at least amongst the 100 million 5G phone users, there is that excitement to go ahead and to upgrade to 5G. Do you think that excitement will in any shape or form be dampened by the high prices that are expected? What is your expectation on tariffs?
Well, obviously, I think the initial coverage and the initial uptake in terms of individual consumers would be in the higher paying segment and those who have a higher paying capacity. And it would, be for, as I said, for things which you can do with 5G, whether it is gaming or whether it is education or whether it is certain kinds of immersive entertainment and so on. Those kinds of things, I think, may be relatively few in number to begin with, but it's very difficult to predict what would be the uptake, because some of these things like gaming have proved very addictive in other countries and have attracted a large number of users. India, with a young population, could also find some such killer users apart from the entertainment, which normal movies and videos and so on, which are already quite prevalent even in the rural areas through 4G. So I think those are the things that we will have to see how the consumer behavior is and how willing they are to, pay those higher prices. As far as the telco service providers are concerned, I mean, I agree that actually the enterprises would be the first priority, and the use cases also would be developed keeping some of those in mind. So I think, this is the kind of combination that I see happening. Now, we also see another interesting differentiation that Jio has indicated that they will have a standalone 5G network, whereas the others are perhaps starting with 5G on existing 4G, and eventually they might gravitate to a standalone 5G network. All of these will also have some implications for the kind of user experience and the kind of applications that they will be able to avail of. And these will also determine the uptake. So the bottom line is, I may be willing to pay more if I can do something different or if my experience is significantly different. And starting in the urban areas, therefore, makes sense. But once you get a feel of what is catching on, then the spread to the rural areas can be very fast, depending on how things play out.
Right. That's an interesting argument that it's all dependent on the use cases. Well, tomorrow is when the India Mobile Congress begins, and that's when perhaps these companies will display some of these use cases and how the technology is to be deployed going forward. But on that note, I'd like to thank both of our panelists for joining us and sharing their insight and perspective with us. But that's all the time that we have for. It's a wrap on this edition of News Center. Thanks so much for watching.